All right, we're off and running here at the Land and Development Forum. Great guest today, Jim Ritchie, Tridel, president of Tridel. Jim, thanks for joining us. I should mention, of course, I'm Aaron. He's Adam, but you knew that already. Jim, we really appreciate you coming on. We're very interested in the history of Tridel, understanding kind of what your investment thesis is, and in this turbulent market, just understanding how you guys are navigating through it. Before we get there, why don't we go backwards and just talk about your career and how you ended up today as president of Tridel?
Well, I took the fast route. I started with Tridel when I graduated from university, and that's a few decades ago, like 4 decades ago. And I had the great fortune of, actually, I didn't have anything else to do at the time, and there wasn't a long lineup of job offers.
Why real estate?
So that's a great question. It wasn't planned. I thought I was going to be an economist, but I actually was in Ottawa, and Tridel had an operation in Ottawa, and I was actually working there part-time on just about any little thing that they would give me to do, I took on. And when school wrapped up, they said, well, since you don't have anything else right now, why don't you help us with this, that, and the other thing? And I just started off from that. There wasn't any grand plan. I didn't even really know an awful lot about real estate development. But that's the way it got going. And I've had the great fortune over the years to work in just about every department that we've got within our entity and got thrown things that no one knew what to deal with, and we just had to solution it, or a little more planning where we evolved things through acquisitions or different opportunities over the years. So I've had a lot of fun doing it and had touched a lot of different things, because back then, in as much as we're still known as a high-rise condo developer, in our Ottawa operations we had a little bit of everything. We had land that was just sitting there raw. We had acquired some sites for rental. We had a little bit of condo going there. We were building some townhouses. We picked up a little office building outside of Montreal on a land swap for something else. So you just had to learn. And so I've had that opportunity, and here I am.
How big was Tridel at the time?
Well, in our Ottawa operation, I wouldn't say it was huge. That's for sure. But that was during the heyday of the real boom into condo, into more of what it is today. Like in the 80s, there certainly was a long journey to get people to understand what condominium was all about. But more so in Toronto, and specifically for end users and probably people that we now call empty nesters that were changing this lifestyle. That was the original focus. But so we had developments that had single family houses into it, but that was less and less. We had other sites that had multiple use, so you may have a combination of a condo with something else, or towns, that type of thing. So, but it's evolved. But today, obviously the focus is really razor sharp in terms of getting the condo development business right.
Let's talk about the size and scope today. I mean, Tridel's a household name within real estate, and non-real estate people would know that name. But maybe just to kind of put a headline on the size and scope of the operation now, whatever metric you use to measure that, what's the size?
The company itself. Last year we celebrated our 90th year. Originally came together in 1934. An immigrant, Jack Delzato, a bricklayer, did a deal to sell a single house, actually build a house on a little street called Lappin Avenue in downtown, the Bloor-Dufferin area. And I guess the handshake was, I'm going to build a house on your lot, and when I'm finished, I'll pay you. And they shook hands, and away it went. So it started there. So in terms of the scope and the tenure, we built about 90,000 homes of some shape or another, over all those years. Which includes, some of the work that we did way back then in terms of, the single-family work. But today, we have, a pretty robust pipeline. We're building right now just shy of 3,000 condominium suites, plus that and more on our construction management side. And the portfolio for the future is pretty robust.
Before we go today and future, Tridel would indicate there's three of them. What's the story behind the
Yeah,
name?
the three brothers. So the name is Delzato, and as much as the founder, these are Jack's three sons. Angelo started the business in a big, meaningful way, and brought his brothers into it. So that's where you get the tribe.
And are there kids still around? How does the generational transfer play itself out?
So we're professionally managed. All sorts of governance. The shareholders and or members that sit on a board are not employees of the company. You can be an employee of the company, but you're not going to be on the board. So works reasonably well. So far so good.
In a previous recording earlier today, Aaron and I were talking about Toronto's condo growth from 2010 to 2020 just being the most unbelievable period
Yes.
of development, not just within Toronto, but almost at the global stage,
Yes.
definitely the North American stage. So being a preeminent developer heading into that cycle, would that have been the busiest part of your career, the most robust? I mean, I imagine it's gotta be.
I think so. Look, I can put a little perspective in that. The high-rise condos really started to come together in the early 80s. And since about 1980 until now, our industry has developed, they've marketed, they've sold and built and delivered about 485,000 condominium suites all throughout the GTA. I mean, that's a lot.
That's a staggering
No, but
amount.
that's from 1980. In that decade that you spoke of, 200,000 were delivered.
Wow.
So that's
Almost half.
yeah, just in that 10-year period. And that has been, obviously successful from anybody's metric, but it's also been our biggest challenge because it's brought on a lot of extra cost because of all of that hyperactivity. Things just cost more because it's harder to get your trades out. It's harder to get all these various components to pull it together. We saw the biggest growth in DC charges. We saw the greatest growth. You name any of the cost factors that go into what we do, that decade, we're paying for it.
Except for interest rates. Interest costs are going down. But
Yeah.
that part of,
Thankfully.
thankfully, that helped sort of support
Well,
it. Right?
you're absolutely right. We got away with it a little bit because you had near zero interest rates.
Yeah.
So what if the city increased the DCs again?
Well, that's
by
it,
another
right?
40%.
Yeah.
We'll just pass on that cost,
Yeah,
and it all
that-
seems to work as we can finance it.
During that time, like how much of your condo buyers are investors?
So let me speak to that. I guess everybody believes that the only thing that gets sold today in the marketplace is a very small condominium, and it's to an investor. And then that's the market. I advocate that the condo market is made up of many sub-markets, depending on who your target audience is and where it is. So if we're developing a community on a golf course in Thornhill, and the average size of the homes in that community, the condominium homes in that community are like 1,500 square feet, I think I could tell you that the percentage of our investors is reasonably low. If we're in the downtown core in a pencil-thin, very tall building with the average size of a suite less than 600 square feet, I think you're pretty much talking the investor community. So we probably had too much of that and not enough of the suburban type of product with the larger homes, but it varies. So it's quite mixed. And those buildings downtown, you're 80, 90%
Yeah.
are investors, and in others it could be half or less.
Yeah, and one of the reason I ask is, and Adam referenced a conversation we've had earlier about that boom during that last decade leading up, that 200,000 units that were delivered. What is the likelihood that we see anything at that scale in the future? Like, is that a once in a lifetime
What's your
event?
definition of future? Because
Yeah,
in the
well, that's
near
what I
term,
mean.
I think that's going to be pretty tricky.
Like that's my comment. I think a lot of I believe there are a lot of developers kind of saying like it'll come back soon, and I can't imagine it ever coming back to that. Certainly condos will sell
Perfect
again.
moment in time.
Yeah.
You get a very healthy market and sell way less condos.
Yeah, we've got
than-
zero condos selling, so obviously that's not going to last forever. But I don't think it's going to go back to 200,000 over a 10-year period.
Well,
right?
let's. I don't think this model of an investor built building or designed building that has average suite sizes less than 600 square feet is going to come back in a big way in the near term. It may happen again. One thing I've learned all these years in this business is never to say never about something. You're surprised all the time what happens. But we've always been an advocate of a more balanced approach to the composition of the suites in our buildings. And to me, that was taught me years ago, in that if you have some small suites, some medium and some large, and some diversity in terms of the bedroom counts and sizes, etc., then you can sell to a larger audience. And I mean, in theory, I think that's right. Sometimes it's hard to sell to an end user a larger product up front. You know, you can do it a lot quicker with smaller suites with an investor. But I also know that if you, on average, have larger suites in the building, your overall costs usually are less because you've got less suites, you're building less kitchens, you're paying less development charges, you need less parking, you need this, that, and the other thing. So the 600 square foot condo or smaller, yeah, you could sell that quicker, but you're leaving money on the table. So what's that balance? So we've always tried to have a more balanced approach. Maybe we've lost sales because of it, but the fact is that I think a larger condominium home, it just works better. We can design it so much better, and the person using it is just, it's an overall better program.
How do you fight the pressure to go down to the lowest common denominator? I've got maybe a different perspective. So my mother lived in California. She wanted to buy an investment condo. She wanted to buy a condo, and living in California, she calls me, knows I work in real estate, and goes, "Hey, I want to buy a condo. I hear Tridel is the best developer, and I should buy a Tridel unit because make sure that that'll protect any sort of downside on my building."
Your mother knows best.
But I said yes. That was my impression also. Like, I'm not in the condo environment, but that is also the rumors out there, and that is what everyone believes. How is it that you guys became that brand? Like, you are a premium condo developer, and everybody says if you want to buy the best, buy Tridel. Like, that is just the way. And I'm sure someone from Mancus was sitting here, they'd be disputing it, right? But you know, like, it is.
Well, and,
how'd you get there?
And kudos to them. Like, you know, the one thing about our industry, our tier one development companies are really good. And now they have a lot of experience. They're reasonably well capitalized, and I think they actually care about the customer and the customer experience, because we absolutely do. And
like, was that on purpose? Did you do it on purpose? Like, was that your mission statement? We're going to become this premium brand. We're going to, because you do obviously earn a premium. You earn a premium because of it, right?
I think we evolved, and I think that had a lot to do with the brothers and just the culture of the company. Was effectively, you want to do the right thing, and we're not always going to chase the last dollar to squeeze out of a particular community. You just won't win doing that. So we probably pay more than anybody else, for that customer care cost, but we believe it's the right thing, and we won't walk away from that. And even where we're challenged to take costs out of a community so we can be more competitive, we're not taking that out. So if our building has different finishes, or we're addressing a different market and different price points, you're still going to get the Tridel experience. And whatever it is that we sold you will be built correctly. So whether that is a can we even find a $500,000 condo anymore? But let's say we did. Whether it was that, or
maybe just in the future you will,
or in a $5 million condominium, which we've sold lots of, the experience has got to be the same thing.
How many units are you delivering this year?
About 1,900, 18 to 1,900.
Okay.
And we've just started one. We're just closing our second community this year. We've got 6 more to go.
Because this is a big delivery year for the condo market.
It is.
In general.
Yeah. Should be around 30,000 units overall. It should track that way.
And do you see landmines in those closings in terms of people being able to actually get to the finish line?
So that's a good question. We're not experiencing challenges with closing our suites. So we, as a developer, and our client both have rights and obligations. It's very clearly articulated as to who's responsible for what. And certainly we would not have built a community if we didn't have sufficient sales in place. So we take a little more due diligence. We're a little bit like our lenders. We want to be somewhat risk adverse. And if that means that our purchasers have to get a bona fide mortgage approval, if that means that we're going to get a 20% deposit, if that means we're going to get a credit check with our buyers, and as much as it's not an easy thing to do, we probably lost business because that was easier for the broker to take that client somewhere else where they didn't have to do all that, I think is helping us today. Also, we don't have hardly anything in the way of these micro suites in our portfolio, which tend to be trickier they're solely purchased by investors. So last year we had a total of 2 units go sideways, and I'm not talking 2%. I'm just like 2 suites.
Yeah.
And so far we've had 1 this year. So I know and hear of other challenges in the marketplace. No one really knows, except for the developers themselves, and I'm pretty sure they don't advertise their closing ratios. So there's an awful lot of opinion that goes on out there. I haven't seen the hard examples, but our own, we're not experiencing that today, and likely because the due diligence at the front end of the purchase cycle is helping us out today.
Well, larger deposits probably helps. It's all, which is paying off now. I mean, as you mentioned, you might have lost some sales at the time, but it pays off in a down cycle. And yet to that point, it'd be interesting to know an industry-wide average. I'm sure it is far worse than 2 in, thousands.
I actually think it's a bit unusual because given the life cycle of these projects, life happens. Mm-hmm. Somebody might lose their job. There may be a marital breakup or a family breakup, or they move away, or something happens where they don't want to close that purchase. So even taking that into consideration, never mind the fact that I use the word subdued. We have a subdued market. That's about the best one I could come up with. But
we're gonna put that as the episode title.
Yeah, subdued market. Yeah. Well, how much visibility do you have into the assignments that are transpiring on your projects?
That might help us also. We do not incent our sales staff to push these assignments through. Our assignments are referred to as a limited right of assignment. So we don't release the original purchaser until the second one actually closes. And we're not active in helping them sell them or cycle them through. They need our consent, but they come through. So I suspect that we're probably lower on average with assignments going through than what typically would happen. And again, I have no idea what our competitors do in terms of that velocity, but there's enough of them out there.
Well, same thing too with a 20% deposit. It diminishes the return if you are trying to just truly flip an APS. 5% down would probably be way more attractive in that regards.
Back in that 10-year period we were talking about, we probably could have juiced more sales if we reduced the deposits in half, or if we got rid of that dreaded mortgage approval. Probably would have even quadrupled it. But that's
wasn't part of the brand. Didn't meet the brand. Didn't meet the brand.
Thank you. It doesn't. Yeah.
Are you in the habit of holding inventory at all? Are you in the habit of holding inventory? Selling enough to meet your sales threshold for financing, and then holding on to units.
We're pretty good that way. Suffice to say, it comes as no surprise that 2025 will not be a banner year for sales for us or for our industry at all. I mean, last year, I think the industry just barely touched 5,000 unit sales. I don't think our industry is even going to do that this year. So it's definitely a year to concentrate on getting the product completed and closed. It's not a particularly good year for a new launch. At least we haven't seen that opportunity present itself as of yet. So here we are in June. I don't know if we're going to see it this year at all. We have, to your point earlier, a lot of inventory in the system, 30,000 plus units being delivered this year, probably 20 to 25 next year. We got to get through all that.
Well, what signals do you pay attention to if you were to start doing significant sales, sales centers, the proper launch?
Right.
What signals do you pay attention to in the market to determine when that time's right?
Well, we have a number of ways we looked at. Obviously, the week-to-week sales is one good barometer. Are the sales, the interest, the amount of traffic that comes to the various locations. I know our web guys are all over the traffic on the web and the conversions, etc., so we can see that. We watch the resale markets very close in all different forms. Obviously, what's happening with single family. More importantly, what's happening in the resale market with condos itself. And I think you guys know, even in that market, that's also pulled back. The listings are probably at a record high, and the number of sales, they happen, but they're not at a velocity that was typical over like a 5 or a 10-year average. So there's so many things going on this year. It's so unpredictable because of not just interest rates, probably less interest rates now. It's more geopolitical.
Interest rates have been flat for the most part.
Yeah.
Like I'd say we're pretty good there, but I can't control all the geopolitical noise that really creates economic uncertainty. And purchasers are not buying big ticket items if they don't know what's going on in the economy.
It's uncertainty paralysis is the way I kind of think of it. So you pivoted to Del Manor.
So just before we
go ahead.
So that may be, if that's the reason today, I know we've got some challenges with supply, etc. That at some point is going to resolve itself, and we will move on. So it's one of these barriers to a purchase, we can deal with. But we also have, I don't care what the built form, whether we're talking about the rental buildings, a purpose-built rental, or seniors communities, or our condos, we just have a challenge with affordability and the costs. So that's something that has to get dealt with.
Yeah, no, okay, let's park Del Manor for one more, because this is an interesting topic. And you're right. So let's generally, because this is a really complicated question, speaking generally, what is the per square foot price you need to sell at to make the math work today?
So we don't have a single solution for that either. So much like, if I had a typical condo,
yeah,
but what?
But it's north of 1,000, right? 1,100, yeah,
I'd
something like
I'd
that.
say 1,200.
Yeah, to make it work and make the dev yield at least accretive, right?
But that's, I hate averages.
No, fair. And I acknowledge
that can work.
Yeah,
but
right.
I might need $1,600 somewhere, and maybe we can get under $1,200 somewhere else, or maybe there's this amazing opportunity in Yorkville that's going to be $2,000.
Yeah, of course.
So.
But my point is, you can't buy the land and build the thing for less than a certain threshold, and right now, no one's buying at that threshold, and that's the issue.
I think
right?
that's fair. We are having some success selling completed larger condominium homes. There are, end users that have a need, and they want that particular lifestyle. And if we have the inventory, when I say larger, I'm talking generally speaking, 1,200 square feet to say 2,500 square feet, which works reasonably well. We have no challenge selling $2 and $3 million condominiums to people that are looking for a home, and we meet what they need in terms of their specific uses. So it's not a great big giant market to play in.
Well, those are young families,
but
right? Looking to maintain the city.
It's more typically
or retirees, perhaps.
Either retirees or professional couples without the kids, but they don't want a house. For whatever reason. So we're quite happy to work in that. That luxury condo space can work, but it's tough to get there.
Segue to retirees.
Yeah, let's do that.
Del Manor, that's an active market. That's probably a ray of sunshine right now in terms of the products that you're looking at. But you're not new to seniors housing. I know a lot of people now are trying to get into it, even though it's a difficult market to crack due to the enhanced offerings that seniors has to bring to the table. But talk about your seniors platform.
So, on that's our Del Manor community. We self-perform. We much like we do in the condo business. We acquire the site. We take it through the entitlement process. We design it, build it, and we operate it. And we've got a great team of operators. It's a good business. It's certainly challenged today in terms of new development, just like any other thing that we're doing because of the cost side. So we kind of have to work around that. But we've been growing that slowly and methodically, and we're over 1,000 suites in that portfolio, and we want to continue to grow that. And we might even look at, under the right circumstances, to acquire and just buy an existing if the formula all comes together.
And what was attractive to you about to do that business rather than a traditional purpose-built rental?
Well, a good question. I guess at the point of time, it was a point of differentiation. There was a lot more people in the other forms of real estate, and it was almost a little bit of an extension of this, the slogan that we have at Tridel, where we're built for life. So when your condominium home is of no more use because you have other needs, we can continue, that journey, but we'll do it in a Tridel Seniors community.
Cool.
So a little bit of that cradle to grave, but not quite.
Yeah, yeah.
But it elongates the life cycle of your interaction with that customer. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're not looking to build new, but I imagine your occupancy levels must be up. From what we hear, all seniors housing is functioning very well.
They're
these
very
days.
good. They're all in the I think for the most part in the 90th percentile.
And you don't underwrite to 90 when you're looking at one of these. You don't need a 90 to be be successful.
And then are you pivoting to purpose-built rental? I mean, we just talked about the demise of the condo market.
The subdued.
Sorry, yeah.
Subdued
My
condo.
apologies.
It's not
Demise
dead.
is
It's not
permanent.
dead.
We just talked about the subdued condo market. Many of your condo developer, compatriots are talking about, or are transitioning to multifamily.
Well, we certainly have looked at it. We do, as I mentioned a little earlier, another division of our organization, which certainly supplements what we do, is construction management and project management. So we're quite happy to build somebody else's purpose-built rental. We won't build somebody else's condo, but we're happy to.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. Kind of that brand
The
experience.
secret sauce. Yeah.
There you go.
I got
So
it.
we'll stay to that one, but really enjoy that work. And that book now is about 3,500 units that are currently under construction.
Wow.
We have a number more coming on over the course of the next 12 months. So
Who are your partners on that? Are there those that can be public, or just generally? Are those pension funds, REITs? Like, who is it that are
all above.
contracting you?
Private entities, REITs, various institutions.
And you're effectively the merchant developer, or are you just the
No,
GC?
we
just
are.
the GC.
We're by contract the construction manager.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So we may evolve that a little bit further because there's some other opportunities where we can also be the development manager as well as the construction manager. And if there's some opportunity to work with a receiver on something else, maybe we'll also become the sell. There's different opportunities, but we're building high-rise buildings, which we know well. So if we're going to supplement it with that kind of work, and if my subdued condo market isn't pushing out as many numbers in terms of the builds, well, we can supplement a little bit of that with this other work. Keep the people we have on staff, whether it's a Tridel condo or somebody else's purpose-built rental, that skill set to get where we have to go to complete the building, it's the same. So we can move the teams around.
I mean, you're privately owned.
Yes.
And I mean, many second, third generation real estate companies start looking for that consistent cash flow, which you don't get, of course, with condo development.
Well, if you're delivering 20,000 a year in the height of it, that's all is consistent cash flow almost, because you're delivering every 3 weeks a new building.
That's the industry, not me.
Yeah.
20,000. But anyways, it's working out well, especially in these times. Then on top of that, we have we manage the condo corporations, and we have about 90,000 units.
Oh, so that's a good cash flow.
So that's very, very stable. It doesn't bounce up and down. That's for sure.
I mean, obviously, a company this far into its evolution, it probably has more stability. But for earlier cycled condo developers, I know that lumpiness of the cash flow is one of the hardest things to manage as an organization.
Yeah, well, if you're around in the 80s, you'll learn that really quick. And if you were smart, you figured out you're not going to let that happen again, and you're going to manage that to a better outcome, which is we've been saving in the proverbial piggy bank for 4 decades.
Yeah.
Well, this wouldn't be Tridel's first time living through a subdued market.
No,
so,
I mean, every time, just the other day we were showing the staff how the condo market performs in terms of sales in the industry. Then it looks like a yo-yo, right? You got little bounces up and down. I got a couple of big ones, and now we're in kind of in a trough. And we've been tracking that way since the first quarter of 22. So we believe in the market long term. We're not walking away from that. There are cycles. We're well positioned to wait it out, and that's what we're going to do.
Great.
When do you think the yo-yo comes back up again? We've had a few people make predictions. We're happy to share with you after your guess.
I don't know if your listeners can hear all those people in the background there, but there's got to be hundreds of them. You could ask them. You're all going to get a different answer.
Oh, yeah. You're 100% right.
Yeah.
Yeah, plenty of opinions available. That's for sure.
They don't cost anything.
Sometime in the next 2 to 50 months, right? Like it's somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Jim, thank you so much. This has been particularly fascinating. Aaron and I, in our day-to-day job, don't do much in the condo space. So super fascinating to talk to somebody like you who obviously is at the forefront of it. So we appreciate your time today. Thanks First National for powering the podcast. The Real Estate Forums group for having us here at Land Development, one of our favorite conferences of the year. But most of all, our guest, Jim, thank you.
No, it's been my pleasure. Enjoyed the conversation. Thank you.